You are about to witness history in the making.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Pop Culture Gamer show. Now, I'm sure I sound like someone else when I do that, or I try to do it. But anyway, Hayden, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Steve.
Mark, how are you? Yeah, he's not here today, is he?
No. Mark,
Mark,
you there?
Yeah,
Earth
where
to
are
Mark.
you? It's a bit late. No,
Ground
so
control to Major Tom.
Mark's busy today, busy this weekend due to work, so it's just the two of us this week. We just roll swiftly on anyway, because it's Bank Holiday Monday, and we get out in the garden and just update my bald head that's sort of like a traffic light, which I'll mention later. Anyway, Hayden, how are you doing, man? Are you all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Had a bit of a busy week. Other than that, okay.
Yeah, so it's nice to have 3 days off, but it don't play havoc on your sleep pattern. It does for me anyway. I don't know about you.
No, because I have a very
You're an
bad...
insomniac anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I have to admit, I am really glad for it to be the bank holiday, but I'm only working one day next week because I was going to take the week off, and then I changed my mind. I thought I'll just take a couple of days because I thought, well, my line manager was off, but it ended up he was only off for a couple of days.
Right.
So I extended my annual leave a bit, but I'd agreed in the interim to cover what we call our CDOP process, which is Child Death Overview. Mm-hmm. So, if a child dies and it's, there's concerns, you would have a rapid response to it. So, I've got to cover that for one day next week, but that's not an issue. But, work's been quite busy for me because I finished off something I've been working on for months, which is in relation to self-harm and suicidal ideation, and about how to get support for children and young people who may be considering themselves, considering or engaging in self-harm or considering taking their own life, and sort of like guidance for professionals, but also for parents and carers and children themselves as well, where they could go and get sources of help. So I'm quite pleased that that's over and done with. That's a big piece of work. We had a big training session online webinar about it on Friday, and then this weekend has been indoors is sort of birthday, so that's why we haven't recorded on Sunday, because I couldn't make it. So on Sunday we went to Redcar to the beach, took some nice photos, and for a change tried a bit of practicing of what I'm preaching when I'm teaching people digital photography.
Right.
And it was quite interesting because it was a sunny day, but there was fog over the beach. So anybody wants to have a look, I've posted a couple of pictures on my Twitter feed on there, but I was just trying to, capture how that kind of looked, because you would...
Trying to be a David Bailey. Come on, let's put it out there. Not that people would know who we're talking about.
No, probably not that many people would, but no, just trying to get some nice photos, really. That's all it is. But I've always been a big fan of anything to do with the sea and in paintings and pictures, So when I did A-level art, which I didn't do very well at, I have to admit, but I did my thesis on seascapes. So it was a particular reference to Turner. So looking at pictures like Turner's Fighting Temeraire, which is my favourite picture of painting of all time. It's beautiful painting, showing the sun setting of the sail age going into the steam sort of age.
I mean, I I'll put it, people that can take good photography. Obviously, I know it's all about the camera you're using, whether if it's on a phone or not. Obviously, cameras are so in depth now that photographers use, and they're getting better and better. So we can always have a go at trying our best to take some good shots with the quality. But it's always funny if you can get a nice shot and you're quite chuffed, Yeah. You're just taking a photograph of a rose, and do you know what I mean? If you get it right, it looks good,
Well, yeah. I mean, with photography, the key is, well, there are two factors you need to be able to do. The first is the technical, about setting the camera up right, and the second is the artistic. So, in terms of that, that's about considering the type of shot that you are using. Are you going to use like the Fabonici spiral as aiding you in composition? Are you going to use the rule of thirds? Are you going to use, the perfect ratio sort of thing, which is 1.618 to 1, in terms of framing stuff in your picture, that sort of stuff. So, and because obviously I teach that on an evening. As a bit of a hobby, really, but a hobby that pays money and allows me to buy stuff. But
and isn't it?
Yeah, I like those sort of hobbies. They're my favourite. But when when I'm teaching this, I always start with about composition, because you can be on fully automatic and get probably 80% of the effect that you want. The main thing that you want to control when you're going into semi-automatic or full manual control of your camera is that aspect of how much of a depth of field effect that you want. So the blurriness in the background. Do you want everything to be crystal clear?
And stuff, I suppose, and all this, isn't it? It's how you're going to put that image across, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's me talking as a well. I'm no David Bailey, but you just try to get an image that you're happy with.
Yeah. Yeah. And depending upon what you're trying to do. So, for example, AV mode is there for creating that depth of field from infinite depth of field to a very tight sort of range. And the way to think about it is, if you're not sure what I mean by depth of field, stick your arm out to full length and look at your nail. And then without changing your focus off your nail, concentrate on how everything looks around your nail, and it's blurry. That's depth of field, basically in action, because we naturally see depth of field. Everything that we look at is not in crystal clarity.
No, of course it isn't.
It's only a very small area.
Whether you're going to take a shot where you're going to focus on what's behind it and not in front, so your thumb's going to be blurry compared to what's the other side of that thumb, and and it's the same with movies as well. Photography in movies is just amazing what they get to view on the screen. Yeah. Whether it's like a desert in Lawrence of Arabia or a sea, which I don't know what it is about sea for me. I love it, but even in Jaws, when you're seeing some of them shots of the sea, with the sunlight and when it comes across, really nice. Yeah.
So I mean, when you're taking photos, I always, because everybody always comes on my course and says I want to go into fully automatic, and I go, for God's sake, why?
What are you doing here then?
I say fully manual rather. Want to go into that? So for God's sake, why? It's like you can get the effects that you want by just doing semi-automatic, and you're not having to worry about an awful lot. Because being able to balance, you have what's known as an exposure triangle. So that is about how much light is basically coming into your camera. So it links in with the aperture, the shutter speed, and the ISO of your camera.
Yeah.
And they all play together. So, if you've got a highly sensitive ISO rating of like 3200 or above, you're probably going to get quite a lot of what's known as noise or a little bits of pixelation in there. Whereas if you've got 100, you're going to get something that's quite clear. But obviously there you're balancing the amount of light that's coming in, because your sensor's going to be very insensitive to light. So that means you need a longer exposure. So you might go from an exposure where you wanted to get 1/10,000th of a second, and it might end up being half a second difference in the exposure, which doesn't sound like a lot until you're taking a picture of somebody and you're holding the camera still for half a second, because believe it or not, that's a long time to hold a camera still. And the other thing as well is if you're taking pictures of something in motion, you
Well, I
will
was about to say
definitely
that.
get motion blur over half a second.
Yeah, and obviously depending on how you want that to look, then you're slowing the speed of the camera up or down
Yeah.
to get that image. Like if you're going to photograph a racing car or something, you know.
Yeah, and you'll have heard people talk about f-stops on cameras. So, your f-stop relates to your aperture. The higher the f-stop, the more crystal clear your picture will be, because it measures sort of like the distance from the outside inwards. So if you've got like a 2.4 on your f-stop, that's going to be a very open aperture. Whereas if you've got a much higher number, that's going to be closed up more. So it's going to be more pinpoint. The smaller the hole that the light goes through, the more in clarity everything is. It's reverse logic, basically, because you would think that the bigger the number, the more everything would be in clarity, but it's not. So it's what I try and do is teach people about how to compose pictures using Fibonacci, using rule of thirds, all of that sort of stuff. And then go into the technical about how the camera works, why these three things work together, and about what's known as reciprocity. So that is about how you change one setting, you've got to change one of the other two settings that are the primary ones equally. So that it balances it out. Otherwise, you're either going to be over or underexposed, and you talk about the exposure meter, stuff like that. So it's quite complicated. And when you're taking pictures on phones, which, to be fair, that's what I was doing yesterday, because I forgot my digital SLR. Otherwise, I would have took it. I never really thought about taking pictures till I was on the beach. There was a couple of there was a tractor on the beach, and there was a surfboard from the Lifeboat Association on there as well, and I took a couple of pictures of those, which turned out quite well. But when you're taking a picture, it depends upon how what equipment you've got to hand as well. So just make the best of what you've got, and I'm quite pleased with just iPhone photos.
God, I mean, to be honest though, going back in the day, everyone would get these fancy cameras with all the big lenses and that. But with what you have in your pocket these days, it's quite amazing in itself, to be honest, and very surprised what you can pull off with your phone.
Yeah, I mean, you still can't make up for the optical effects of a digital SLR with your phone, but you're not far off. And then you can manipulate it in Photoshop afterwards, which is something else that I teach as well.
That's right, you do, yeah. But yeah, no, actually, it's funny because we think about this, but in games, I was mucking around with what was I mucking around with recently? Oh, it was the photo editing in the Resident Evil game.
Right.
I think they're all very, very much of a much, but yeah, it's quite cool to play around with those. Obviously, you do get your gamer tag, your achievement that always pops. So go straight to that in the game. There's an achievement for taking a photograph.
Says the man who doesn't search for achievements.
No, I don't. No, but you know that. I know one's going to pop. So, it's fun.
But it's a good hobby, is photography, but it's one of those things of how a couple of feet in any direction can make the difference between a picture and a really great picture. So it's like yesterday when I was out, I think I pulled a muscle on my chest, so I was in quite a bit of pain.
I don't know how you did that, but carry on.
It wasn't through anything lewd, unfortunately. I would have been quite happy if it was. But I pulled a muscle in my chest, so I couldn't get down as far as I'd wanted to go and stuff like that. So while my pictures look okay, they're not as good as I wanted them to come out, because I couldn't quite get to the angles that I wanted to be able to take them, because sometimes you have to get quite low to the floor to get the effect that you want to do, especially when you're using rule of thirds, stuff like that. So yeah.
And any going on with your life then this week? Been gaming much?
Yes, I've started a new game which I will talk about, a new release this week. So we'll come up to that. We'll leave that as a point of
any teasers, any TV at all? Anything new on that?
No, just been watching the 9-9, your Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
Season 7 of that. So one more season to go. And yeah, it's okay. I think it lost its sparkle after 3 or 4 seasons. And Adam, was it Sandberg or whatever he's called, who's the star plays Peralta, he seems to be getting younger in it, in both the way he looks and also the way he acts. In every season, he seems to be going the opposite way of aging that everybody else does. Which is really weird, but I do like the captain on there. You know, he's a great character, and he's how he's transformed over the several seasons. What about yourself?
Well, say we were when you tried to record Saturday, but I was obviously out Saturday. And this last minute getting ready for my stepdaughter's wedding. So that's been the main conversation of this household. But yeah, it'd be nice to go to another wedding, and I've got two now. So my boy, one of my boys is getting married in September as well. So I've got another one then. Yeah, it's crazy when the kids grow up and you start going to more weddings. Some of them are a bit, emotional and stuff like that. But yeah, it's all right. So you can probably see my head. It's bright as a bean at the minute. I was out gardening. I was out gardening yesterday, and when we'd finished, just sat in the garden just to chill out, not realising I should have wore something on my head. And God, it's actually very tender right now. But yeah, don't do that very often. I normally put a hat on, and my missus tells me for it. But yeah, it was nice to get out in the garden for a change instead of stuck in a room. Because it's like you're doing it all week when you're working, and just to do a bit of gardening, that's not my favourite cup of tea like you either. But yeah, that was all right. Bit of sunshine. But it was just having to organise a tip because we have to do a visit. You have to book it online. You have to book your car in with the AMPR, and it gets a bit of a pain because you only allow, not for you, as you say, once a week. We have only one tip run, so you can only do one a week. But that was a joy this week. Movies and videos this week. That's interesting. I was looking at Bill Hunt on Twitter. I follow him. He's involved with a digital website regarding movies in 4K. And I saw him tweet out the June 4K, which has been released by Arrow. And twice I've done it now. I made the mistake. I went onto Arrow's website to order it. I ordered the bloody Blu-ray, not the 4K version. So I've sent them an email. I'm sure I'll be able to sort that out. And there's not much in it price-wise, to be honest.
No, definitely. But what's quite fascinating me is when I've ordered it. Which version have you gone for? Have you gone for the collector's edition?
Well,
or just a normal?
The 4K version is like a collector's edition anyway.
Yeah.
But then there's the Zavvi one, which I saw as well, which I think is that an extra disc for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, there's cards and stuff like that. I've gone for that version.
But yeah, no, it's one of my favourite films, and it's nice to pick that up. But I've got to wait for the. I either have to just pre-order again the 4K version and then get them to cancel the Blu-ray edition. But I did some emails straight after I realised I did it, but maybe it's bank holiday week and I might not see an email until tomorrow. Then we're all back to work. But yeah, that was quite interesting. And also with being a bald head now and I got a clean shave, it was something I was a bit frightened to do due to taking these pills in a minute with the idea of bleeding out. But yeah, no, I've got the old razor out, got my Harry razor out and did that. I thought I was pretty chuffed. It looked pretty well. I mean, I know you're a Gillette man, aren't you? The best a man can get.
I think I also used to use Wilkinson sword as well, but Gillette just did a better job.
I think, to be honest, I mean, a wet shave for me is better than any other type of shave that's going. I have had a Turkish wet shave before. That was quite interesting. I had one of those when I was in, I think I did it in Japan. And they even put some stuff in it which peeled like a skin, another layer of skin off you and all that. Very therapeutic. But yeah,
sounds quite painful, to be fair.
No, it wasn't. Far from it. I mean, we get this big cutthroat razor out. They do, and that. But they put this other stuff on me. They did it like a film, and then when it dried, you just peel it off, and it takes all the pores out as well, and the dirt out of the pores. I'd recommend if you ever get to try that sort of experience with a cutthroat razor, I would do. As long as he's your best mate and not someone you just. So. Yeah, no, what else have I been up to? Oh, yeah, I went on to Reface. I've not played this much around with this for ages, and because I had a shave, I thought, well, let me try it with a beard, and it just looks dreadful. You trying to look like someone like John Rambo, and you've got this grubby old beard on. So when I shaved, I thought he looked a bit better. And I did the James Bond one for a bit of a laugh on Twitter, and got quite a few replies back from that one. I was very surprised. But that, to be honest, it's got so in depth, that app now. I don't know how, if you look on it, it's not just like 5 or 6 things that's on the main page. There's a lot of stuff hidden in the background you can play with.
Yeah.
And for those that like a good TikTok or two as well, there's stuff for that now. But if those, I don't pay for it. I don't know what it costs to pay for the cut the adverts out as many as you want.
I think it's about £10 a month or something like that. It's quite expensive.
Really, God. But you get a timer on it, don't you? So when you've done 2 or 3 or 3 of them, then it will say like you have to wait so long or watch an advert. Which is no point in actually paying for something like that. Blimey, you're not getting good back on return, are you?
Well, no, but the adverts only last a minute anyway, so.
And the last thing this week, pre-ordered. I've been waiting for this now. I knew that Mondo were doing it. Let's see, how many have I got so far? 1, 2, 3. They've got 3 albums. So they're doing the Mission Impossible series on Mondo at the moment. And on Wednesday was I think it's 6 o'clock over here, was the release of Mission Impossible 3, which is actually one of my favourites. I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea, but one with the to do with the rabbit's foot. And I was able to get a copy of that online. I was sitting there patiently waiting to refresh it to come up, and got a version of that, which I'm pretty chuffed about, because I do love the music to those movies. That will be probably coming in late August, I should imagine. So yeah, not much else. A bit of TV on Netflix I've been watching, but I don't know if you've seen something I've watched for a change, but we'll see. Comedy TV show, but we'll see whether you. I bet you probably have or not. I don't know.
Okay.
We shall see. But let's move on to gaming this week.
No longer a dream, but a reality.
Okay, Hayden, do you want to start the pick of what we got?
Okay, so lots of news, basically. First off, Valve is working on Steam Pal. So this is a Switch-type handheld device for Steve. Evidently, it's suggesting it's going to run on Linux, not Steam OS, which I found was quite a surprise. It kind of feels like a bad move to me on Steam's behalf, because these devices already are out there. I don't think that they're that popular. And things like Steam Link and the Steam controller never really took off. And I just don't think that this will.
There's too many, the big boys are out there, but trying to release something for a minority is not easy to do, I don't think. It's, if you're going to design something and you're going to sell it, you've got to get it right. And I don't think it's a tall order to like go up against people like Nintendo or anyone else.
No.
Those kids that play that. So
there goes the Switch listeners again.
But, it can't be easy, can it?
No.
This sort of thing. Good luck to them, that really, I think.
I mean, it'd be nice if it does take off, but I just can't see it.
No. Nintendo are they sell out hotcakes all the time, don't they? I mean, they're top of the tree for that.
Yeah.
And they will never fall from that tree.
Well, I'll bring in another bit of news as well. There is suggestions that the Switch Pro, which is the 4K version of the Switch, is going to be revealed possibly before E3.
Oh, okay. Because they got their own digital show that they have. I don't think it's before normally, or is it during? So, yeah. How many versions of Switch can you buy?
Well, 2 at the moment. And then you've got your light Switch. As opposed to your Switch Lite.
Yeah, well then there's a new one called a pull cord. Have you heard of that one?
Is that for pulling the other one?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So, another bit of news, one that I think you'll like, Steve, is the fact that Dying Light 2 is scheduled for release on the 7th of December this year, and there's lots of new gameplay to be seen, showing new enemy types as well.
Yes, I did enjoy that game, I must admit, and it's one of them. I'm proud to say, actually, that's one of the ones I completed, and thoroughly enjoyed the idea of the free running with zombies in that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be up against a few other games at December, though. I don't think you can actually pinpoint a best time to release a game when you've got Call of Duty and FIFA out in November.
But at least we don't have to worry about buying Halo Infinite.
No, we don't. Touch wood, in about 13 days' time, we will hear more.
Indeed. So, other bit of news, Far Cry 6 gameplay revealed, looks really good. And it might have a third-person point of view as well.
Yes,
Which-
I haven't seen too much about this trailer. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Is it looking good, is it, the game?
It does look like quite a beautiful game. They've definitely got a very vivid colour scheme going with it, like that orangey yellow sort of view. And there seemed to be a guy with some sort of rocket pack, which I looked and I thought, are they taking it a bit Just Cause-ish? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that the best gameplay trailer, certainly for this week, was Horizon Forbidden West. So this was shown on State of Play, and I've just got to say it looks utterly amazing, does this game. The visuals look way beyond the last game, and there's quite an impressive fight with a massive sort of robot elephant in there as well, showing lots of the new weapons that are in the game, and a sort of like Zelda glider kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I did see a little bit of that on Twitter. I noticed it, and the PlayStation guys should be pretty chuffed to see that game coming out, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Was that the only thing that came out of State of Play? Was there much more other than that?
I didn't actually see State of Play. I saw this from State of Play. So I don't know if anything else was revealed, but there was a Sonic event as well. So this was, I think, really quite disappointing. It announced the fact that Sonic Colors is coming out for consoles, and they are yet again rehashing all of the old Sonic games with Sonic Origins. So there's also talk of a new Netflix cartoon series that is going to feature Sonic.
I mean, I'm sure the kids will enjoy that sort of thing. I mean, I don't know how old Sonic is now. It's just come up against an anniversary. I've funny feeling.
I was in third year primary school when it came out.
Wow.
Yeah. 38 years ago, something like that.
God, I don't know what they must. I'm sure there's an anniversary that's just come out for it. But yeah, Sonic, you can only go far with that. I mean, I think my best times playing Sonic, to be honest, was probably back in the day, sort of pre-PlayStation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what was I playing it on at the time. I was probably playing it on the
Master System, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, it goes from that to 3D versions of Sonic, and we've had the movie, and yeah, I don't think it's much as it's a great Sega flagship. I think you can only flog a dead horse too much, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they had that one, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a rehash of all of the old Sonic levels that you could put in any order. That was released, 2 years ago? Something like that. And you could get Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic Knuckles, Sonic 3D, all of those already on, well, just about every platform going. So I just feel like they're just rehashing the same rubbish all the time. It's Sonic Mania I was thinking of.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when was that? That was, matter of fact, that was older than I thought. It was 2017 that was released, so a bit more than 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's all the same stuff over and over and over again. It's, to me, and this is what I feel the failing is with Nintendo, because I'm going to say it again, the Switch is a cracking console. The problem with Nintendo is it's all the same Nintendo stuff from all of the previous years. In a lot of respects, it's like, when you look at, I know that they've brought the graphics up to date on some of the stuff, but Nintendo does tend to release the same sort of things. And how many versions of Smash Brothers do you need? And
yeah, this is probably the only downside to Nintendo, if they've got one, is that they don't bring out enough new IPs to warrant what they bring out hardware-wise. Yeah,
because the consoles themselves are great, and say things like Hellblade on the Switch, it's a really good version, and it looks fantastic. So, but I just feel like Sega with Sonic, they just rehash the same stuff over and over again, and it means that they're actually damaging the franchise at this point, I think. But anyway, there is evidently a next-gen Sonic game coming next year as well.
I'm sure there's some fans that look forward to it and enjoy it.
Yep, there will always be hardcore fans, but when you consider how good Sonic used to be to how it is now, it's a bit of a parody of itself, I feel.
The same. I mean, sort of. I think their strongest franchise. I think we're all going to agree is Mario. But again, that's
Nintendo's,
the same. Yeah, and that again is another product where you can only go too far with it. I mean, they can bring out all sorts of versions of that and spruce them up. But yeah, I know it's tough, really. I see you could say the same thing. Xbox have Halo, I suppose, for example. Nintendo have Mario, PlayStation, Final Fantasy, maybe, I don't know.
Sackboy.
Yeah.
If you're keeping it in that sort of.
Yeah.
And Unreal.
Which is a nice little segue into the next.
Yeah, because as Ultimate Mountain Climbing Simulator, or Unreal 4, whichever way you prefer to call it, is now coming to PC. So yet another bleeding off of the total exclusives to PlayStation over to other platforms. So Unreal 4 is not going to be exclusive for much longer, evidently. So quite looking forward to that.
Yeah, I did see, as I was saying to you earlier, I did see some video footage of that, because it was talking about it now for Xbox as well. And some of that just looked realistic, didn't it? It just, it's sort of film quality.
I can't see Uncharted rather, going to Xbox, though.
Oh, no. But the idea of using the engine for certain stuff.
Well, isn't the engine actually technically Microsoft's anyway? Because they bought out the company that the engine ran on, didn't they?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, they did, because that was a big joke at the time that the PlayStation exclusive was owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
In terms of how it operated. Other bits of news, there's been a release of Unreal 5 engine this week, and you can download it for free and experiment with it. There were some amazing visuals given out in terms of the engine running. Evidently, the Konami code will give you extra features in Unreal Engine. I don't know how that works. But the most amazing thing came from Ionized Games, where one of the developers there tweeted that they were able to load a 10 million polygon scan of their dog, and they were able to load 1,000 instances of it running at 60 frames a second. So that's 10 billion polygons at 60 frames a second.
Wow.
And he stopped, not because he'd reached the limit in terms of what it can do, but because he got bored with doing it. And plus, his PC isn't even high end. It was, very achievable sort of specs by all accounts.
Yeah.
So I think once we get Unreal 5 starting to proliferate its way down into games of the new generation, I think we're going to see some quite amazing things.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they can develop that and some of the games you can get in the future.
Yeah.
And use the new consoles to a bit more of a capability factor that we can play with them.
Absolutely. There was bad news for Sony PlayStation owners as well, because evidently Borderlands developer announced that their latest update for the game has been denied crossplay by Sony.
What a surprise. How many times is this going to go on? We've said this before, and they keep saying it again. They've got to start getting in the real world now. They just put their own backsides with this.
Yeah, definitely. The Xbox and Bethesda conference is coming on the 13th of June at 6 p.m, which is a Sunday. So maybe we'll have to watch it and then do a discussion show about that on the 13th.
Well, maybe we should just do a live show and just watch it and go from there, really, just off the cuff.
Possibly, maybe. Yeah. Might be an idea.
Oh, you'll have to see the back of my head, though, because I have to turn around and watch it on the big screen.
Or maybe we just rebroadcast it with us chipping in. I don't know. It's a possibility. And then finally, there is a new Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest 12, on the way. Not that I know much about the franchise because it's not one that appeals, but
no, me neither, to be honest. But I'm sure there'll be Dragon Quest fans out there somewhere that will be jumping at the bit.
Yeah, I'm sure that there will be. So, do you want to do the?
New releases. So I haven't got too many this time, but we have on the 31st of the 5th, we have The Fallen Knight on PC. On the 1st, we have got Necromunda Hired Gun. That's on all platforms from Focus Home Interactive. On the 3rd, we've got 2 titles here. We've got Pro Cycling Manager 2021 on the PC. And we've got Monster Harvest on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox. Also, on the 4th, we have DC Superhero Girls Team Power on the Switch. And Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 on all platforms as well. So not too much to chomp on there, but if you fancy a cycle.
Quite happy for it to be a quiet couple of weeks on releases.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to do the subscription?
Okay, so Games with Gold this week we've got a Mellow, which is from the 1st of May to the 31st. Dungeons 3, which is available on the 16th of May to the 15th of June. Lego Batman on the 1st to the 15th of May, and Tropico 4 on the 16th to the 31st.
I own Lego Batman. I did actually tick the box of Tropico 4. I haven't actually played them games.
Yeah, they're okay. They're sort of like SimCity with a comedy dictator sort of thing. I think I've got about every version of that game on PC.
Okay, so PlayStation Plus, we've got Operation Tango. It's nothing to do with the fat man that runs around in orange, isn't it?
I don't know.
Virtua Fighter 5, The Ultimate Showdown, and Star Wars Squadron.
Yeah, Star Wars Squadron's an interesting one because it's only 8 months old to be given away so readily.
Maybe they wanted to put something in there that was something they could sort of highlight, something to get them flagged up, I think. Because
I think also to have an equilibrium with Game Pass as well. Because
exactly.
Yeah.
So what you got on Twitch and Epic then?
Twitch and Prime, basically, you've got Batman: A Telltale series this month. We've got Newfound Courage, Lost in Harmony, BFF or Die, and Spit Kiss. Whatever the heck that is, it's an indie game. And then on Epic this week, up until the 3rd at 4 p.m, we've got Among Us, and then it's another super secret game. So we'll find out on the day.
Did they have a super secret game last month? Do you remember what it was?
They've done it every week for the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they just seem to be hiding it at the moment. It normally means that there's going to be some good or popular games that are being released.
Cool.
And it's to keep coming back.
Yeah, there's that fishing reel. They're trying to reel you in, aren't they?
Yeah, and they also, when you go in, they also turn around and say, "Oh, and here's a £10 voucher for anything that you spend over £15." So
they now have to play that game.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, should we move on to our gaming?
Yeah.
What you got then, Hayden? You got something new for a change. I haven't got a great deal to chat about, to be honest, a little bit, but
Well, this week was the release of Biomutant. So, do you remember this game, Steve?
While you're chatting, I'm gonna actually go onto YouTube and have a little look.
Okay. So this is the latest game from THQ Nordic, and it's basically a big open world action RPG. It has branching storylines where the decisions made by the player will decide how the story outcome will continue. Mm-hmm. And the story revolves around the main plot, which is the Tree of Life, which has been struck by a natural disaster and becomes polluted by poisonous oil from beneath the soil. And your mission is to either help the Tree of Life and restore it, or let it die. And there are different factions within the world, where there are these 6 tribes, half of which want the tree to die, the other half of which want the tree to live, and you've basically got to try and get it to do one or the other. One of the key, sorry.
Go on, carry on.
One of the key features of the game is basically the ability to change your character based on some sort of biodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
So you can start the game choosing your breed of creature. Those be Primal, Dunmoon, a Rex, a Hyla, a Fip, a Murgle, each of which has their own sort of strengths and weaknesses. As you progress, your character can change its stats and attributes. You get different points and upgrade paths on there, and you can give your character new abilities, new fighting styles, new abilities to wield different weapons, all of that sort of thing. And I think anybody who loves an RPG will love that aspect of the game because there's a lot of diversity in it. I'm sure that you're probably looking at a video of this now, Steve, and what you'll be able to see, it's a beautifully realised world.
Oh, it looks lovely. I've got to say that.
Yeah, with some really quite stunning vistas in terms of that game as well. Like I said, it's got quite a large sort of map. It'll take a little while, not as long as Just Cause or something like that to get across, but it'll take a while to get across the map.
Yeah.
The gameplay is quite smooth. I think it's running at 60 frames per second. And you've got a good choice between long-range weapons and melee weapons. But what I do kind of feel is that the combat does feel a bit spongy and occasionally a bit lackluster at the moment. There is news that the developers have listened to some of the feedback from the community and are trying to make the weapons feel more impactful and responsive, and are also going to be adding higher level of difficulties because people have said that the highest level of difficulty is not particularly that hard.
Well, I'm looking at this character with wielding a sword, and he seems to be takes a bit these round ball characters that he's trying to kill.
Yeah.
In a sword, you think you'd be able to take him out in one or two hits, but it's like it's taking him longer than I would have thought.
Yeah, it takes several hits on things. I mean, if you learn all of the moves, you can fight like a boss, basically. And it'll go down quicker. But what I found in this game is there are some games, like, for example, the Batman Arkham series, where the fighting feels fluid, and this doesn't feel fluid, and I think that's the problem.
I mean, when you're looking at the character and how tiny it is compared to some of the big bosses, there's a character here with 3 furry heads.
Yeah.
And it looks like it would take you, due to size and mass, you think it would probably take forever to kill it.
Yeah, it's not Final Fantasy, though. One of those games take forever to kill anything that's bigger than you.
Indeed. But yeah, I remember seeing a few things about this in the Facebook group. Was it expensive, this game, was it?
It's just standard sort of price.
Digital or hard did you go for?
Hard.
Yeah. Is that one to actually sort of use in CX once you're done? Is it one of those games that you can go back to or not? Or
no, my son said he wants to play it, so I'll give it to him afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
But it's a nice game to play, other than, like I said, the slightly lackluster combat. There's massive open world, lots of different biomes. There's lush greenery of the forests, deserts, snow areas, and some other weird ones as well. It feels very much like Breath of the Wild and Immortals, Phoenix Rising, and Assassin's Creed had a sort of love child in some sort of way. Because there's sort of elements of each one in there. Nice game overall, good story. I think it looks beautiful, definitely worth investing in. And I would suggest, if you've not seen this or want to see what it plays like, have a look at the Pop Culture Gamers YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because there's a couple of hours of gameplay of that, about 3 or 4 hours of gameplay of that on the channel. So there's plenty for you to be able to see, including all of the upgrade paths and stuff like that. The only thing I would say is the negative on this game is that there is a narrator, which a lot of people have complained about, but you can switch him off.
Is it poor voice acting, is it, or...?
No, it just pops up occasionally. It's just annoying. But there's lots of things you can collect in there. There's like weapons, different mounts that you can do. So one of the first things you get is a water ski, which you have to then upgrade to be able to go on to different types of water. There's like a mech that you can use. There's a glider, which when I was watching something,
like a jetpack or something, is it?
No, it's just like literally a glider, like in Zelda, and it was strongly recommended to get that as soon as you can. So I went out of the area where I was encouraged to stay. I went looking to get that early on, but you can get like a helicopter backpack and stuff like that as well. I'm enjoying the game. I think hopefully if they tweak it, it'll make it run a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Anything else you play Mass Effect still, I should imagine? Dipping in and out?
Not very much because of me playing Biomutant.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Mass Effect I'm savouring.
It's a piece here, a piece there.
Yeah, or a PC here and a PS5 there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, for me, I'm still going through Destiny, obviously. You know, that's my main thing I'm doing at the moment. And I'm just going through, just upgrading my character and just carrying on with the story through the season. A little bit of FIFA, really. Their Twitch Prime has got another free pack this month, so if you want to go onto that to download that in the FUT, that's fine. That's it, really. I haven't even played Mass Effect, really. I think I've been just... It's not like a gaming lull, though, but... You know, I suppose this time of the year that you sort of maybe fizzle out a little bit in the summer when it starts to come in. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose I always feel like there's a little gaming lull before E3.
Yeah.
Itself.
Yeah, I think so.
It always feels like that. Even though, say, we're playing games we've played before with Mass Effect and that. But we'll see. I mean, there's some new things on the horizon, I'm sure, come September. Don't know what.
Is there anything sort of like Destiny coming in September? Because that's normally when they do it, isn't it?
There'll probably be the next part of the roadmap.
Right.
So I'm not sure if this is the last. Is there going to be one more season after this? I'm not too sure at the moment. I'll have to look on the roadmap. But this might maybe another season or two that goes up to September before the next expansion that we pay for to go for the next section. You know, I don't know. But yeah, it's much of a much really. And I don't know, is there something new we really want to get our taste buds in gaming at the moment? Something we really want to play? I mean, I've got older games that we still haven't actually gone back to. I need to do like Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there is a lot that I want to go back to. A few games that I think there's been a few releases recently, and I've say that in terms of the PC stuff, a lot of the PC stuff is like Horizon Zero Dawn, playing that through on the PC, because it does feel like a different game, especially if you're playing it on a keyboard.
Yeah.
And the visuals are updated, so it's really nice to play on the PC.
Yeah. Cool. So should we move on then? I think we're done really. Okay, so we're going to movies, TV, and streaming.
In quest of a better life.
So we've got a couple of bits of news, haven't we, Hayden? What have you...
Okay, couple of bits. Cobra Kai, the new trailer is out, and the return of another character from the Karate Kid Illuminati, should we say.
Yeah, one I wasn't too keen of, he hate to say, it was the guy comes from Karate Kid 3, doesn't he?
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, and those that haven't maybe seen the second or third film, I think they need to go in there rather quickly now before this comes out to get a flavour of what this nasty character is all about.
I'm sure that they'll do flashbacks like they did in other ones.
Yeah, I think they will do. But yeah, that'd be great. I don't know. Is it penciled in for late this season, isn't it?
Evidently, yeah.
But so, should we talk about? If we're going to go through the biggest news again, another pay and a buyout.
Yeah, massive buyout by Amazon of MGM Studios. The tech giant has bought MGM. And a purchase that was worth 8.45 billion or 5.97 billion pounds this week. Obviously, one of the things that this has had people worried about is what does that mean for Bond in the future? And evidently, Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson stressed that the deal did not mean that The Spy would be solely pushed onto Amazon's streaming service. Stating that we're committed to continuing to make James Bond for the worldwide theatrical audience. Amazon will not have free rein to exploit the franchise with spin-offs in the way that people like Disney Plus have done with Star Wars. And under the deal, future James Bonds will be made available on Amazon Prime, but Eon's statement makes it clear they will be screened in cinemas too. That statement, because it's quite bland, is I'm thinking that that's going to be simultaneous cinema and Prime.
I don't think now. Obviously, if you've already got Amazon Prime, you can maybe watch this for free.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I would like to see it in the cinema. Though I've always watched the Bonds in the big screen. It's something I like to do.
Yeah.
Now, what it might do is it might then also give you the back catalogue. If you don't own them in any sort of structure digitally, you may well be able to go back and watch them all.
Quite possibly, but it is a cash cow to get the Blu-rays out every so many years, isn't it?
Well, at the moment, I've still only got my 50th box set.
Yeah.
Or book set, I think is the word quite used for that.
But they haven't done the 4K release.
No, they haven't.
And if they did that, that would probably get you encouraged to upgrade.
Well, to be honest, I would. Apparently digitally you can see streaming versions of 4K versions, but whether or not that is going to be worth watching, I don't think so. I'd rather have a disc in my hand that's 4K than streaming.
Yeah. Well, we know from streaming services that realistically speaking, if you're playing a purchased HD Blu-ray, compared to a streamed 4K, because of the bit rates, the details are near identical anyway. There's not very much difference in it, and quite often, depending upon the compression, the Blu-ray can look better than the 4K.
I'd like to think that they don't do a marvel on us and say, here's the whole lot on 4K, it's going to cost you 250 quid.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them either come out in batches, whether that's going to be depending on the Bond that would say like the Sean Connery era. They've already done a 4K version of the Craig ones, haven't they?
Yeah, the Moore Bond.
But we
do stuff like that. Yeah.
I'd like to see the original 49, should I say, or actually maybe less than that, stretching across the original other Bonds that we've had over the decades.
Yeah.
But sure, they will come out at some point.
I'm sure that they will. But anyway, the next instalment of James Bond with Daniel Craig's final outing in No Time to Die is due for release in UK cinemas on the 30th of September and the US box office on the 8th of October after a series of COVID-related delays.
And we get it a week before for a change.
Whoop, whoop. So we should. Bond's British.
Exactly. It should always.
We always have to wait, and we always have to wait at least a week for when it's something American to come over here. So it's only fair. It should be the same way around.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then a final bit of news I've got is about obviously the 4K Blu-ray of David Lynch's Dune, and evidently the collector's edition's already sold out.
What, on Zavvi?
Yeah.
Because was that one a bit more expensive?
That's the £45 one, yeah.
I want you to go in there because I didn't know why. Because obviously Amazon are doing their version, because that's where it's coming from. I don't understand why they got an extra disc in maybe on that. Yeah, so the 4K edition has sold out, but you can go for the June limited edition on 4K HD, which is significantly cheaper. But I wonder that's because is that the soundtrack that's with it on the next disc maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know, but yeah, I'll actually say my cock up on the Blu-ray. I may have to just purchase the other one and then just cancel the other from that point of view, but we'll see. Okay, cinema releases. So not too many this time. I'll go through them. So the big one is on the 3rd of June. We have A Quiet Place Part 2. On the 4th, we have The Killing of Two Lovers, Dream Horse, Land, and After Love. Not too many there, but A Quiet Place is getting some quite rave reviews at the moment. Part 2 of that. Whether or not I'll see that at the cinema, I might have to wait until it gets released in different ways, I think, before I get to watch it.
I don't know, I really quite fancy seeing A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yeah, I think best place to see it will be a cinema because it will be very quiet. No distractions there.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have people rustling their popcorn or their Werther's Originals or whatever they be sucking up while you're watching a film like that. That's probably the only downside to it. Okay, what have we got on DVD releases then, Hayden?
So DVD, a couple of ones I've picked out is, first one is Duel, which is the 50th anniversary of the Steven Spielberg classic movie, which I only just recently picked up anyway, and it's a fantastic movie, is that. It's one of my favourite ones he's ever done. Smokey and the Bandit 4K Blu-ray.
God, yeah.
It's a brilliant movie as well. Stardust, which was quite a good fantasy movie, starring Robert De Niro. The Mask of Zorro, 2005, and The Legend of Zorro, both on DVD. Tremors, 4K Blu-ray, which I'd be really fancying as well if I hadn't have already got the box set of that. But, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest there, I've been looking at the dual 50th anniversary edition. I don't know if there's much difference between that and the one you've got. To be honest, I don't think it's been a great deal.
I don't think that there is.
No. Something else in the background there, a good film I did enjoy is Backdraft, which is on 4K Blu-ray, which is Kurt Russell. The fire one there. Anything else I can see thrown through there? No, I think that's about it really. Okay, so cinema charts.
Cinema charts, we've got number 5 up from 32 is Speed, number 4 down from 1 is The Little Things, number 3 down from 2 is Wonder Woman 1984, number 2 new entry is Tom and Jerry the Movie 2021, and at number 1 new entry is Raya and the Last Dragon.
Okay, so I'll do Blu-ray charts, what we have here. So in at 5 we've got Supernatural the Complete Series, in at 4 we've got Tom and Jerry the Movie, in at 3 Supernatural the Complete 15th Series, in at 2 a re-entry we have Super 8, which I think I've seen for God knows how long, and at number 1, one of the greatest movies of this year is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Deadly silence on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what have you been watching, pal? Anything to talk about?
No, not really. The only thing well, actually, no, there's 2 things I've been watching. First off is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I'm on season 7 of this now, which is quite an undertaking considering it's about 24 episodes in each season. I just feel like from about season 4, they lost the plot a little bit on the show, and it's been sort of like limping along with a flat tire, shall we say, somewhere along the line. One of the main characters left and stuff like that. But I don't know, I think that the character of Peralta, played by Adam Sandberg, he seems to have backwardly evolved, is the only way I can say it, because he looks younger now than he did on the first episode, 7 years later, and his character seems more immature for an already immature character. It's sort of like turned into a parody of himself a little bit, which is a bit disappointing, really, because it was a little bit more intelligent than it is now when it first started. But it's still entertaining and stuff like that. And we've been watching it basically. But I would say that my favourite episodes are the heist episodes that they have. So they have split up right across the whole of on each year. They have a heist episode where everybody in the precinct tries to steal something specific.
Yeah.
As a sort of like competition between themselves, and every year it's got progressively more silly and sort of backstabbing and stuff like that. But I actually quite like those episodes, just because it does get really quite zany, but it's not too bad. So that's that. The other thing I've been watching as well is the return of Lucifer. So for the second half of the newest season. Because they sort of like stopped halfway through the last season at the appearance of Lucifer's father, which, if you haven't worked it out, would be God. And this is now about Lucifer reconnecting with his father.
Oh, okay.
And it's just very typical sort of Lucifer episodes, basically. The writing still says pretty much the same. Although one of the episodes, they did a Buffy One More Time with Feeling episode. So everybody was bursting into song every now and again.
Do you know what? I don't know what it is about that, because just of late, a lot of shows do this.
Yeah.
And
I think
it winds my missus. Winds my missus up. I tell her, she hates them with a passion.
Does she?
I mean, Flash did one, didn't it? I think Flash did one. I'm trying to think of others that come to mind that have done it. I think a few of the other sort of Vampire Diary type of things that she's been watching have done that as well. I just got an email from Arrow as we talk. Okay, I've got to cancel one and then buy the other. Fine, okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, but yeah. So there's a TV show that my missus has been watching, and I every now and then I'll walk in there and she's laughing, and when I sit down and I just don't move then when I see it.
Yeah.
So this is a show called Motherland.
Yes, I know that one.
Yes, and it's a very good show, isn't it?
It is. There's another one similar to it called Breeders. If you've seen that.
So if anyone doesn't know, so did you mention this before in here or not? I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it once before.
So here we got it's about 5 parents. They obviously all we see of them is going to the school, dropping their kids off, but then we see them in the background. They're sort of mingling together with some hilarious outcomes and different scenarios that they get into. I think they end up being more to be friends than they are just parents that they say hello to in the school playground.
Yeah.
What I did notice is a couple of the people in it. We got Diane Morgan, who plays Liz. She's in Afterlife. I think she was one of the members of the office that he worked in, Ricky Gervais. But the girl that sprang to mind, and I looked, I thought, I know her. And this is Lucy Punch, who plays Amanda. And she was in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
And did you remember, so when you saw her, did it come to mind who
Yes.
she was?
Yeah.
So she played she was a member of the cast that was doing the play in Hot Fuzz with Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, she got head severed, didn't she?
Yes, she did, yeah. But she had that annoying laugh, didn't she, in Hot Fuzz? But yeah, I've watched a few episodes. It is very, very British, this.
It's quite brutal humour at times as well.
Well, there was one there when they went away for a weekend they went out to rented a B&B in Devon or something. And the guy was trying to cook this pig in the ground. And all the girls just use him as a go-to person. Why? I want the Wi-Fi. What's the Wi-Fi channel? What's this? What's that? But I think it's really funny. I might have to probably go back and see some more of that the missus watched.
I would suggest if your wife likes that, tell her to watch Breeders on Sky.
Right.
Because that's Martin Freeman.
Oh, okay.
And it's a very similar sort of thing, but it's about one couple, and I've forgotten what her name is, but she used to be on Man Stroke Woman, and she was on.
I recognise her. Yeah. What was she in?
She was on Extras as well. She was the woman who went all the time.
She was in something called Back to Life also. I'm just seeing it, just more like this.
Yeah, that was about her returning to the community after she was
was she a murderer or something?
She went to prison for murder, yeah.
That's it, yeah. My wife's actually seen that, Back to Life. She actually watched it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have to tell her about that.
Daisy Haggard.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I've sort of walked in when she's doing her binge watching and occasionally come across something like that.
Yeah. Well, she's the wife in Breeders, and she's Martin Freeman's wife.
Yeah.
But basically, they're a bit of a dysfunctional sort of couple, struggling to look after the kids with lots of things going on. It's that sort of, it's similar to Motherland, but a variation on that sort of theme of, dysfunctional parents, basically.
I think this time of year there isn't a lot out there. I mean, there is a lot of TV shows to watch, but normally it can go quiet.
Yeah.
So first to find something actually to watch together. But there are times when we do things like that. I don't know about yourself with the missus.
Yeah, well, me and the missus are watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine at the moment, so that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah. So, yeah, other than that, really, I did sit down for the first time this year and rewatch The Thing from John Carpenter, which is quite nice to do. I think it's what you call one of those comfort movies, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Just sit down there with a cup of coffee and just chill out. But,
yeah.
A lot of my pre-ordered Blu-rays that are coming out, some of them are getting delayed, and they're a little way away yet as well. So, I'd like to still go to the cinema at some point. I'd love to do it this weekend, but something tells me it's wrong to go and sit in the cinema when it's nice and sunny.
Yeah. I kind of feel now, with the amount of Blu-rays I've got, I'm finding it hard to find ones that I want now. Because I've already got them.
It's funny you said it, because when I sat there last night with Mrs. sitting there, and I just wanted, go on your phone. I just typed in 4K Blu-ray and got down to Amazon. And I was just flipping through them all thinking, no, there's nothing actually coming out other than what I pre-ordered, like the Indiana Jones box set. There's a couple of Arrow 4K Blu-rays for Dario Argento movies, which I've gone for as well. And also, I pre-ordered Basic Instinct in 4K. And I think that might be soon, actually. Yeah, there's not a great deal coming out at the moment.
No, and I feel like I'm probably being more selective now, because before I would be buying 4K Blu-rays just because they were 4K, but now...
No, I don't. You know, it's easy to do that.
Yeah, it is.
But I try to... I mean, actually, there are a couple I'd like to have, which I don't in a minute, which is like, I wouldn't mind having the Die Hard one. But again, that's just the one single movie. They've not done like a box set. And I haven't, to be honest, I haven't actually gone for I haven't done it yet, and I don't know. What I might do at some point in Back to the Future. Now, that normally would be a given to pre-order, and I cancelled it at the time because it was quite expensive. And maybe there's a few others I can think of, but if you try and go on something like the HMV store at the moment, they're doing 2 for 30 quid. And when I look at the first row, I can see Total Recall, Flash Gordon, and Apocalypse Now. I've got all those. Parasite, I've got the Blu-ray of Parasite. I probably don't need that. I've got Don't Look Now. And then you go down there, Fog, They Live, Prince of Darkness. All of those I have got. But there are... You see, the thing is, I love The Matrix, but weren't too keen on the second 2 movies. Now, I know they're doing the box set on Amazon a bit cheap at the moment as a deal. But if you want to just pick up The Matrix, you're talking 20 quid there. But you might as well go for 2 for 30 on the HMV website. But actually, there's a couple I wouldn't mind having, because I've only got the first Rambo in 4K.
Yeah.
And I've got the last one they did.
You know, they're also doing a 2 for 25 as well.
What, 4K?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just go back. What else have we got here? Let's have a look. Because our store, I think our store's open now in Bournemouth. But there are a few bits and pieces coming out. For a fan of stuff like Almost Famous, and yeah, I don't think. Yeah, where did I see that there? So they're doing a flash. They do quite a few sales. They're doing a flash sale at the moment as well. They're doing limited time 50% off as well on certain movies in 4K. I can't. Oh, actually, they actually, because I wouldn't. The other series I do like is the Saw series, and the first one and the last one are both on 4K. Actually, you've got some of the other Marvel ones I'd like to have as well. Not the Marvel, DC. So you've got Batman vs Superman. You've got Man of Steel. So yeah, there are other places on Amazon too. I can't remember how quick they get these shipped out when you want them.
I think they're quite fast from memory. I mean, I'm looking through and there's literally one Blu-ray so far, and I'm on page 7, that I would want to get out of their 2 for 30.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Because after that, you're then sort of like looking for one just for the sake of buying it, basically.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But they do like some limited stuff as well, they're doing, I think. But I say, obviously the Tremors, there's a few others here. What have we got here? We go. So, yeah, I think it's the same with vinyl, isn't it? But you can only go so far with what you're after if you're on the off-road. But there's a few bits and pieces there.
In a matter of fact, there's more in the 2 for 25 that I'm interested in than there is in the 2 for 30.
What, on 4K?
Yeah, because there's Jaws, Joker, The Shining, 300, Gladiator, Spartacus.
Can't see the 2 for 25 though.
It's on the drop down on Film and TV.
Oh, here we go, 2 for 25 4K Ultra.
Yeah. Suicide Squad, the Daniel Craig Bonds.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there, but in terms of the other one, there's just not a lot for the 2 for 30. You know, Full Metal Jacket, if you like that.
Yeah, I love that movie. I really do, actually. I picked up Cliffhanger recently. So even in the 2 for 30, actually, that would work right, because you've got Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Which is the best one.
And then Part 3 as well. I'm sure that was in there as well. I'll go 2 for 30, because you'd want both. Actually, another good movie there is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
I'm a big favourite of that one. I've got the John Wick box set in 4K. Top Gun, yeah, and what else we got there? There are actually 216 results there, so there's quite a few to go through. And there's a good movie there, Shallow. I recommend that without a doubt, which is about a woman gets stuck in a rock with a shark slinger.
Doesn't sound like it's got much depth.
Oh. I'll give you that one. Yeah, Red Heat with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and yeah, there's quite a few. But I think these days I get a bit picky.
Yeah, it's there's just I don't know, that it's looking at it. I mean, there's quite a few in the Arrow sale that they've got at the moment that's sort of raising my interest, shall we say? But it's not even sale; it's just normal price.
Yeah.
If they were doing like a 2-for-1 like they normally do, I'd be interested, but they're not. So
Well, I think sometimes they do that.
Yeah.
But they're bringing out more of their stuff in 4K now, which is really good.
Yeah.
From Arrow's point of view.
And there's some good HD Blu-rays as well on there, 2 for $13.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing is, with upscaling nowadays, it gets a really good job of 4K, because a lot of the 4K movies that you buy, they might be outputting at 4K, but if they were originally shot in 2K, it's just a 2K version of the movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, depending on how there's remasters going on with them as well, and how they can clean. I think it's more about sometimes cleaning the printer.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at the Jaws anniversary Blu-ray that came out, which is astounding how much they cleaned that print up. And on the Blu-ray side, it looks amazing. Obviously, the 4K it blows it out of the water, literally. No pun intended there, but you know.
I mean, the thing with Jaws, and I know it's one of your favourite movies of all time, and I'm not dissing that, but for me, it's sort of like the threat stops as soon as you get out of the water. And so it doesn't feel suspenseful to me, because I just don't go in the water and it's not a problem.
Yeah, but then if it's our suspense are in the water anyway. So, and then you got the second half of the film is obviously the Moby Dick sort of style hunt for the Great White. But I mean, there's quite a few out there. I think a lot of films I don't think it's worth purchasing in 4K anyway. As much as I enjoyed Baywatch, I don't think the extended cut will make much difference.
I mean, for me, what I do now if I'm buying a 4K Blu-ray is I'll look to see how it's been shot. Because, like, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy, I've got in 4K Blu-ray, but all I've done is upscaled that. Well, my player can upscale it, so there's no point in having 4K. All right, it'll be a slightly cleaner 4K, upscale, but it's not going to add any more detail.
Yeah.
But things like, ironically, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I thought there's not going to be a lot of difference in that. And then I bought the normal Blu-ray version of it. And then I saw a clip of it with the 4K, and there was a difference in that. But that was obviously a rendered movie.
I mean, some of the modern classics you've got out there. So one of the big ones for me at the time, Bridge in the River Kwai, which is coming out in September. Be interesting to see the spec on how that was, because that is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And you can get that quality because it's all set in the jungle, isn't it? There's a lot of green in there.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's going to be quite eye-popping. Another one, even though it's the opposite of green, is going to be very beige, is Lawrence of Arabia. Movies like that.
Well, classic movie.
So, anyway, should we move on?
Yep.
And we'll go to listener questions.
John, what's happening to us?
Okay, so did Mark give us a question this time?
He did.
Have you got it? Because I can't see it.
Right, okay, so well, it's probably because it hasn't synced with you yet, but basically what Mark's asking is, how long before Xbox Series X and PS5 reach full potential? Are they being held back by the previous gen? Standard question I think we ask at the beginning of every gen cycle, isn't it?
It is, and it's not until the cycle's end we get to full potential, is it? And then we start all over again, which seems to be a bit of a shame, really, because you're not giving that machine enough time then to mature and also then enjoy the games that can come out on that system. Yeah. And then when you're then going from the point that we've gone to the limit, but we could actually stay on that limit, but no, we're now going to jump again, and then that jump is a weight. So it's a shame, really, because you could probably then the console lifespan could actually be a bit longer. and still enjoy some fantastic games. And from the point of what we're in at the moment with this console, you would have thought this could actually have a bit more of a lifespan than most.
I think it will because of COVID, because of what's happened.
But in general, though, you think give this machine a bit more of a longer lifespan because we're going to do so much for it and with it, and it's going to look so nice.
Yeah, I think you could stick a year on it.
And then again, it depends on what you're viewing it on as well.
Yeah.
And then it'll all progress to then 4K to 8K, and then again that we'll have to wait because of the price to come down. I mean, I'd be content. To be honest, would you be content with this machine now, just carrying on as it is, but progressing the infrastructure for it to get the visuals and what we want out of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would expect 7 years out of it at least. It's quite the irony, isn't it? It's like looking at 2.5 console generation launches before I retire.
Yeah, frightening, isn't it?
It is, and that's at the start of this generation, which I'm not even classifying in that as well. It's I think that this will probably last an extra year to the last gen. I suppose the thing is, all of it with these generation of consoles, or with every generation of consoles, it starts with the press, because the press start all of the thing of, next gen, seen, even if it hasn't been seen. And they start driving and pushing the manufacturers to get the next and latest sort of stuff. So a lot of it will also be dictated to by how well NVIDIA and AMD do in terms of the development of their graphics cards, because console players will not want to get too far behind PC players.
Yeah.
And 8 years in graphics cards is a long time. And
also 8 years in buying graphics cards.
Yeah.
How many times in 8 years would you see a graphics card upgrade? One a year?
Well, you normally see the next gen every year. Every 18 months at the latest. So, you're talking about between, 4 and 7 generations of graphics cards? Somewhere like that. I mean, 2 years is probably the longest life of really about a graphics card being at the top end. I think that like the 1080s seem to get that. I don't think that the 2080s got that long. I might be wrong, but it's around about 18 months, 2 years. So that's quite a few generations. And when I think I'd be looking at upgrading in between then, as the graphics card on my PC as well. At some point there as well, because you're always going to be chasing that on your PC. And I still think that some of that testing out that Phil Spencer did is maybe about where the Xbox will go in the future, about unplug a graphics card and put another one in.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think that'd be Microsoft's plan though to do something like that, but who knows? Who knows what's in the background for the next? Because they're already designing. You think they're just sitting sweet, but they're not. They're always designing and moving forward, even though we're not seeing it in the background.
Yeah.
But we're trying to think about keeping one machine, and they're already thinking about replacing it with another.
Yeah, well, they'll be nailing down more of the hardware specs now on the next gen console, and starting to think about the one after that.
Yeah.
Because they'll have to plan that far ahead. When you think about how far consoles have come in, like 2 or 3 generations.
Yeah.
To where they were, from the the PS2 era to how that went on to the PS3, PS4, and now this one. They're a long way from where they were. But I think in terms of reaching full potential, and our games being held back, I think it'll be a couple of years, say 3 years. I think the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year is a sweet spot in terms of games where we see some of the best games in terms of a cycle. That's when you tend to get your strongest games. And then, yes, they are being held back because manufacturers are just wanting to produce something that'll go and line up, basically, with what they're already producing.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're out there to make money. So, what should they think about the gamer side of things? From the business perspective, they've got to get their investors happy and have a timeline of how they progress.
Yeah. So, should we do the next one?
So Richard Mortlock, he's saying, what feature would you like to see added to the Nintendo Switch Pro? If and when it comes out, it's an odd one, but would you like it to also have a secondary memory card slot so it'll be easier with it cheaper to expand the storage space of the Switch? One for you here.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. Or maybe how about having an M2 slot so that you could install one of those drives, and then that would speed up the access and make it more comparable to the more modern gen consoles as well.
Well, it's all about expanding memory, isn't it? And especially with phones now and handheld devices of all sorts, it's all about that. Maybe not for people like Apple, because they're a bit closed-minded when it comes to that. Certainly in a way, but yeah, you expect something like that to happen.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, do you want to do Jason's?
Yeah, so Jason Toon's asking, with the recent news of Amazon purchasing MGM for $8.5 billion, do you think that this will have a positive or negative impact on the industry as a whole? We all know about Disney political pandering to China, so are you worried that Amazon will follow suit, or will the billions Amazon have at its disposal any means it can finally get some big budget remakes of MGM back catalogue that won't be hindered by appealing to the Chinese audience?
Interesting. I think this is more about what Amazon can show on Prime more than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be more like how Disney, for example, are getting stuff made.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong there, I don't know. But I think this is more for how they can push their own channel, get more subscribers. But to be honest, I think a lot of people have Amazon these days and don't realise they've got Amazon Prime Video as a part of their package.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't expect them to go down the Disney route as well of trying to flog a dead horse, personally. With the way that the Disney have been going on at the moment. I mean, some of the stuff's been pretty good, some of it maybe not so. But I don't think it's going to harm the industry. It's going to pump more money into it.
Definitely. And
Netflix, for example, can that proves a point with them with what they're bringing out. Big directors bringing movies out on Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Mark, you can do Mark's.
Yeah. So, how many hours a week do you game, and do you feel you get enough?
I probably don't have as much time as I'd like to think I get. I know you. I mean, this is a different story for yourself, isn't it? 'Cause...
Well, I suffer from insomnia, so I game basically, because there's not much else that you can do in the middle of the night. It's not like I'd want to go for a walk outside or something or other like that. So I'll game quite often, really late on a night. But I would say, how many hours do I get? Probably 1 or 2 a night on average.
That'd probably be the same for me, to be honest. If I say from 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Depending how I'm feeling. And if I'm not in the gaming mood, I'll be watching a movie instead anyway.
See, I'll be doing, I might be doing gaming, or I might be watching something, or I might be doing a video, or preparing courses or a podcast or whatever. It's like my line manager said, "Oh, I've got another text message from you at 2:30 in the morning." So sometimes, it's
I hate people like that. Do you know what? They hate people that are on their emails and give us a break.
Well, it's just sort of sometimes, what it's like yourself. Sometimes you think of something that you want to do with work and think, "Oh, I'll forget that by in the morning." Well, I can just log on remotely and do it, and then it's done with, sort of thing. And I'll do that sometimes, and that I prefer doing that because then it allows me to clear it out my head.
Do you get more time to game at the weekend though? So if you say 2 hours a night, what about weekends? Because obviously you might get a few hours in the afternoon.
Yeah, a few hours in the afternoon.
If you're not being dragged out to the shops or anywhere like that.
Yeah, my wife's not one really that much for dragging us out to the shop. She'll go out, she'll go and see her mum and take her out and stuff like that.
She'll just have to ask you to come in and help to drag it all in and out of the car and put it away. That's a new thing, isn't it?
Yeah. My one thing I've always found out is about my wife is we'll go and do the shopping for each other, together for the food and that, and then we'll bring it in. But I think my wife has an allergy to putting it away because she suddenly bursts out into a thing of disappearing. And she's, I just need to go to the loo. Oh, I'll just do this. I'll just phone so and so. And by the time she's finished all of that, it's put away.
Oh, dear.
And to be fair to her, you know, she does work hard, she does do a lot, but she does do it every time I've brought the food home. It's a noticeable pattern. She thinks I haven't noticed. She'll be cutting now. She knows that I have.
Okay.
Should I do Scott?
Yeah, okay. I just thought so. Scott says, "What do you think of the rumours of the Switch Pro true or false? Would you get one, Hayden?"
Depends upon what else it can do. If it's playing the same games but at 4K, no.
Yeah.
If it's playing stuff that you can't get on the normal Switch, then maybe.
Yeah, but I'm sure. I think if it comes out, I'm sure you'll still go for that. I don't think it won't be a question to think about. To be honest, that pre-order light will go up. I think you'll be on it. Right, do you want to do Lee's then?
All right. So Lee Doty is asking, how has your gaming influenced your kids? Are they gamers too, or do they see it as something boring that Dad does? Go on, you answer that first.
Far from it, to be honest. I mean, when I was living on my own with my children, I think at one point I had about 3 or 4 Xboxes in the house. So, I mean, my oldest would be in his room. He'd have a PC as well, and he'd be on playing World of Warcraft or whatever. And then the other 2 boys they'd be there playing Rock Band or doing whatever they want to do. And my daughter's probably not as much. But even at this stage now, my eldest has got an Xbox, and next one down he has, because he sometimes has popped on Destiny with me. Yeah, occasionally, but the others probably not so much. Maybe I think two of them are sort of going to get married, but I think they still have the urge to game. But for them, it's difficult, I suppose. Their lives are changing, you know, getting married and all sorts. It's probably very different. Where for people that's much older, we take it from a different perspective, I think.
Well, I know when I got married from 2003, there was sort of like a 4-year gap where I just didn't game at all. You know, like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but I was not a big gamer. I was more doing stuff on my PC.
See, I think when I picked up my first Xbox, when that came out, I think that I go, well, not really, because I was playing on the PlayStation before that. I had the PlayStation 1, or say the PlayStation, then I got the PlayStation 2, but then I did get bored of the PlayStation 2 because the games that were out there weren't for me when I switched over to Xbox. So in all that generation times, now I'm thinking even before that, if I go back before PlayStation with probably like a Sega Master System, or an Amiga ST, I remember playing, but it's always been in my life. I think I don't think the time it probably wasn't for a while would have been when I got married, probably, you know, going back. So obviously the way gaming has progressed over the years. So I didn't really get into gaming in the 80s, if you know what I mean. At that point in my life, I was not clubbing it, going out, getting drunk, girlfriends or whatever, going abroad on holidays. But it probably, I can't even think that when that came up. It's very difficult to say, but I could probably say there's not been a lull. I think when I was getting divorced and when I was on my own with my children, I think that was my sort of comfort time, if anything, was to just, when they go to bed, I did get a lot of Xbox gaming time, but then again I didn't when I'm looking after the kids. But then it would then switch when they go to their mothers for a weekend. I think I'd be solidly gaming for 48 hours because I'd be on my own. You know? So, but it's how you tackle life with circumstance, I think.
I think that there will always be people getting to that because it is a form of entertainment, which if you don't have someone there,
but it's even more so now, isn't it? It's more. I mean, if you look at media entertainment as a whole, and where movies was always the top dog, gaming now sometimes goes over that. And with the big budget games that come out, they're being made and they're surpassing most movies as well. So there is a difference now from when we were. I'll go back to say the 80s. I mean, I was going to for media. It was music and vinyl, which is now again, funny enough. And I used to go to the cinema. I used to go to the cinema once a week, easy. Those days, back in the 80s. I mean, you think back to what we were watching, and which a lot of people are probably still sometimes now seeing for the first time. All those movies we were watching in the 80s, you know, it was constant flux of movies, whether it was going locally in Reading or going to London.
Well, I mean, late 80s, right throughout the 90s to halfway through the noughties, for me, was cinema as one of
Yeah.
the things I would do.
Yeah. I mean, I did have football as well. So what I would do is sometimes I would have gone to a football match, but stayed in London, then probably went on there and went and saw a film. I did a lot of stuff on my own at one point.
Mm.
I actually had mates in that. I would go to London to see a premiere of a film. I'd go and see like Return of the Jedi, for example. I'd go and see that in the Square.
Yeah.
Just get on the train. Yeah, sort of thing I used to do on my time.
I remember the first time I ever went to the cinema on my own, and I remember this woman in the OD going, "Oh, love, hadn't she turned up? Oh, sorry about that, Petty. You have a nice seat. You get yourself a nice seat." And it was sort of like, I've come on my own. Yeah, of course you have, love. And she would not have it.
Yeah.
I was there on my own.
Because then, I mean, God, if I go back to, well, there was a good friend of mine, we used to go quite a lot anyway, but even when he was busy, I would still go on my own. And I remember going up to London to see Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And movies like The Thing, E.T., I would just go on my own, Poltergeist. But I loved those experiences up there. I'd go up there on my own, and once I'd watched the movie, I'd go back to Duke Street. There was a record store there that did soundtracks. I'd go in there and probably pick up a few on my way home as well. Just the things I did, but I still do nowadays, even more now.
Yeah.
It's a big turnaround, and it's sort of you're still back in that position, funny enough.
Yeah. Going back to Lee's question, though, I think what I do has had a big impact on my son.
Do you think? Because I know what my dad. It's funny what one of my boys said to me. He said, "When I tell my dad your gamer score," now this is just from my point of view, not from yours, obviously. They would say your dad actually plays Xbox and got a gamer score. They would say that'd be so cool. Your dad does that. Because I'm assuming there are other dads that are just pipe and slipper boys, you know.
Oh, the amount of times that, we've been in conversations and some people have been like, "Oh wow, it's so cool that you've got gamer score." Kids are more often, like late teens sort of thing. And, you're in that conversation and it's like, when it's the late teens, when it's a young kid, it's sort of like, "Oh, wow, you've got gamer score." And when it's the late teens, it's like, "Yeah, you have. What you got? 2,000-3,000? No, 415,000. It's sort of like the drop of the jaw.
Yeah.
It never gets old as that one, I can tell you that now.
I'm sure. But I think from a son's perspective, they must, they think their dad's pretty cool because he plays on the Xbox.
Yeah, and my son thinks I'm pretty cool because I do the show and because I've got my own YouTube channel and stuff like that. He thinks it's all really cool to the point of, his chosen career, other than being a multi-millionaire Playboy YouTuber, is he wants to do game design. And that's what his focus is on, and that's what his options are.
And what would be great is if he can actually get into a apprenticeship as such.
Well, Teesside University do a very good game developing course. Teesside University is quite a well regarded.
Yeah, because if you get into an internship, that'd be really cool if you can do something like that. I know a friend of mine, one of my boys, he went to work for Lionhead for a while at the time.
Yeah.
And my oldest boy, his wife to be, she works with Microsoft, and I keep nagging him about that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what he wants to do. Or at least it's what he wants to do at the moment. But I can't really see that changing because he's been around games since he was in nappies. I've got a picture of him.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because
holding an Xbox 360.
Where we've been getting more into it over the years, and I suppose if you go back to that point of the 360 even, and I think some of my kids were still being born then. They've grown up with it.
Yeah.
And whether or not they get the time now, to be honest, one of my boys says, "I wish I had more time to do it." I don't. I have things to do at home. This is missus as well, girlfriend or whatever. So yeah, it's other things in life other than gaming, unfortunately, that we all have to tackle and do. But I think we're not a boring dad anyway. That's a good thing.
No, I think it's about basically time management, a lot of it. So I manage my time quite rigidly in terms of what I do because I have to in order to fit everything in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, is this the last question?
Yeah. Justin's role rather.
Justin's saying to us, do you think Bungie would ever go back to more single-player focus, or will they stay on games as a service? Destiny shooting mechanics are the best out there, but I'm mainly a single-player gamer. I don't get the most out of the game. Story is fairly superficial, and I'm not the main focus. I'd love to see Bungie do a story-richer 20, 30-hour shooter RPG, but unfortunately I suspect that Destiny model is more profitable for them to change. What do you think? I think Destiny has changed the universe in gaming to a certain degree, I think. Or even before that with Halo, because Halo had the multiplayer.
Yeah, it did.
Which was, I had so much fun with that over the years.
I can't see Bungie doing a single-player game ever.
Well, they are doing other IPs in the background, aren't they? So
yeah, but I bet they'll end up being multiplayer.
But it's all about money making, isn't it?
Mm.
If you make a game that's a 30-player single-player story, it's done, it's dusted, you put it to bed.
Yeah.
The multiplayer, it evolves, and it's more of a, I don't think it's the right word to use, maybe it's a bit of a cash cow, and it can keep bringing in financial revenue.
I mean, even with like Skyrim's virtually unlimited self-generating quests, there gets to be a point when you've done everything in that game.
Yeah.
Because it's single player.
Mm.
Whereas if you're multiplayer, you've got, you can keep going and going and going longer, I think, because it stops being about what the game is and what the story is, and more about the interaction with other players.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see. I do like a 20, 30-hour story that's separate, not got any multiplayer in it.
Mm.
I mean, I always say look at Mass Effect and Bioshock as prime examples.
Yeah.
But they have tried with Bioshock to bring a multiplayer into it, and it didn't work. And unless you're Bungie or anyway, you know how to do that.
Well, there's more than that. Look at God of War, Among Us, Just Cause,
Tomb Raider games, Death Stranding.
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption. Thinking about the story, not the multiplayer aspect of it.
Yeah.
God of War, Final Fantasy. There's so many different variations on all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not much you can. It's a modern way of selling the game and getting people to keep coming back and buying little bits of supposedly little bits of DLC, like a new outfit or a new ship or a new vehicle.
Or horse armor, where it all started.
Horse armor, yeah, God. And ironically, nowadays, horse armor actually seems like quite a good thing in comparison to what some of the, when you talk about buying shaders and stuff like that.
Yeah. Hands up, I got the horse armor.
Yeah, so did I, but it came in the box from mine.
Mm.
And I never used it. I lost the horse.
Yeah. But these days, you can whistle it and it just come out of nowhere.
So, yeah.
Right, should we finish up with the poll then?
Yeah, so I did a poll this week because we haven't done one for a while. And it was sort of inspired by the fact I was watching a lot of people, and I know, Steve, you fall in this camp, of a lot of people choosing the opposite sex to be their in-game avatar on games. So, Mr. Mark Tudor, you were the final straw that broke this camel's back of me asking this question, I'm going to say. So I asked in a couple of Facebook groups, our own and another one, and on Twitter, do you play on your first playthrough as a male or female character when you play a video game, if you've got the option? Forgetting anything about being sexually non-binary or transsexual or pansexual or any other sexual, just your basic, are you male or do you choose a female when you have your character? And as you would suggest, the vast majority of people who responded were male, because most of our audience is, fortunately, but that's just the way it is. So in our Facebook group, 21 people voted for male and 17 voted for female. In another Facebook group I went into, 95 went male, 87 female. And on Twitter, 10 male and 3 female for respondees.
I didn't see the Twitter one, so they make that 4 female then.
Okay. So obviously, most people still choose the sex that they are, or so it appears by the poll. Like I said, I have sort of looked, and there isn't that much statistically difference because of if we've had a female voting to say that there would be male or female as well. So basically you're talking about probably somewhere in the region of a 60-40 kind of split. But a lot of people said that they would then complete the game, go back and play through as the other character. And the most common reason that people put in comments
Go on.
How
are you going to say this nicely and politely?
I'm going to put this politely, and I'm going to put it in the words of somebody, but sort of paraphrase it a little bit. Is the reason is if you're playing a 40-hour campaign, it's much better to look at the butt of a female than it is a male. For the reason of why you would choose female, which, to be honest,
there's many reasons why you choose female, though. I'm not going to go into it.
No, I know. There is evidently a tactical advantage on Halo. Evidently, someone put down. I've never heard of that one before. Better voice acting on Assassin's Creed Odyssey for Cassandra over Alexius. Although, having played both, I didn't think there was that much difference. And I quite like the character of Alexius anyway.
It's more pleasing to look at, isn't it?
It's not normally about something. So it's nothing to do with masculinity or anything like that, or just being sexist. But it was just honest. It was an honest thing of, for me, the character that is displayed on screen for me is me in that game. So I would not choose female because I am not female.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. As my primary playthrough, if I was only playing through it once, that is the way that my mind sort of works. But obviously other people's minds work differently. And I just thought it was really interesting to see what that split is. And, it's close to just a little bit more in favour of sticking with your own sex more than choosing the opposite.
And obviously some games, they are predominantly made to be one anyway. So if you're playing a Tomb Raider game, it's going to be a female character. If you can play the Uncharted, you're playing a male character.
Yeah.
So
in 4 of the 5 of them.
Yeah, obviously different to the last one they did. But yeah, when you get the choices as an RPG, But then again, some of those, it's not just about being a female character. There's also a little side to that where you're going to be something else. It could be furry and cuddly or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously in these sort of games where you do choose your character, it's not just a binary choice of male or female. We know in Mass Effect, for example, you can play it as gay, you can play it as pansexual, you can play it in various different sort of ways. But at its basic, it was like, do you choose a male or female character? And I'm sorry if anybody's offended by just giving the option to male or female, but I'm not aware of any other game that gives an option of any sort of third designation of character.
I think we'll leave it there, shall we?
Yeah. But, how you play it after that obviously opens up with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And Mass Effect was probably the one that actually steered the way from Mass Effect 2, wasn't it? Because that was where they had the big thing of, you could have on Mass Effect 1, couldn't you? You could have a lesbian relationship if you chose friendship with Liara, is it?
Yes, you can. Yeah, that you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just thought it was an interesting subject. Unfortunately, most people were quite polite about it as just a basic question, because that could have been a troublesome one.
Yeah, because we don't go down that route.
No, we don't. And it wasn't meant in that sort of route anyway.
No, of course not.
Just literally which do you prefer to choose, and what are your motivations? And, most people, I think, were like, I normally feel that it's me in there, so it's male. Whereas, for yourself, you choose different reasons, which is fine. That's the whole point of giving different reasons.
It's all about
different options.
That's why it's called a role-playing game.
Yeah, exactly.
And what role you'd like to play. So
yeah, and maybe just have a fresh perspective on life than just being a male all the time. Nothing the matter with that.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap up here.
Yep.
Nice that we've got the afternoon free now.
Whoop, whoop. Well, you have. I've got to edit the show.
That doesn't take long, though, does it? As you should have.
It doesn't. No, I've got it down to a fine art now.
Cool. Okay, so just to tidy up bits and pieces, so you can follow me at Twitter at Steve07. My PSN ID is the real Steve07. Xbox is the same, Steve07. My YouTube channel is the same again, that's Steve07. And my Instagram is Steve0764.
So for me, it's HERJ UK on everything. That's PSN, Xbox Live, Steam, the whole lot, apart from Epic, which it's Pop Culture Gamer. If you want to follow the show, you can follow us on Twitter at Pop Culture Gamer. There's our Facebook group. We also have a Facebook page. Please visit and join both. If you want to email the podcast, you can do so at podcast@popculturegamers.co.uk. Don't forget as well, we have our website with all the shows, anchor.fm/popculturegamers. And we also have a YouTube channel where we try and sync this week's gameplay with videos of us playing and also what we've been watching on there as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe there. That's that.
So that's another one done.
Indeed
So
it is.
all it leaves us to say, it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from him.
Good night.
Good night.